Hi there, I'm Cindy Neuhaus, and my husband Rick and I have lived here since 1991.
I grew up in Edwardsville, so I spent a lot of time out here when I was in high school in the 70, 71, 72, running around with a lot of friends I had out here on the lake. It was a great place to come out and just meet all your friends and kick around the lake. You knew somebody was going to be out here doing something.
Okay, you go. We were looking in Edwardsville. Rick's an architect. He wanted to build a house.
Yeah, and that's what we initially started looking at. At the time, we looked at it. North Shore was just starting. The gun club was gone by that time, and you could buy lots, and you could buy lots for $75,000 is what they were selling for at that time, and there were just a couple houses. So we looked at that, and then we started looking around. I came back one day when I was driving through town because my mom still lived here and family was still in town, and I just drove out around here because I knew I liked the lake. I didn't know if Cindy would, and I saw this house and brought her out, and you could look in the windows, you could see all of the built-in cabinetry and the woodworking and things like that, and it's like, this is the house I could live in. I wasn't sure if Cindy would like it, but
Well, okay, when we did look, in between the boards on the ceiling, that was all painted turquoise blue, and the rug was gold and black shag, and it had white curtains with green leaves and orange bird of paradise. And I looked at that lake and I saw it and I said, this is the place. that's it.
yeah. So again,
We'll take this one.
Yeah, the finishes were a lot of the same ones that probably were here from when they built it in '54. So
Yeah. The woodwork is all original.
It's beautiful.
It is.
they did a good job with it.
Nice.
And this house was originally owned by, people might know, Jim Jones, the Skill Gas dealership in town here. He had a Skill Gas dealership, and he had an appliance store and things like that. It was right on Troy Road, just right across the street from what I call the Montclair Shopping Center. It's Dollar General or Dollar Store, Dollar Tree.
And gas. Everything was gas. The washer, the dryer. We did the walls and retaining walls and all that landscaping out front. And he had powered the lamppost with a gas line.
He had a gas line out there, and it was a
Yeah.
gas. It was a gas light out
at
the lamppost when it was originally built. When we moved in, it had been converted to electric, but it was originally, I'm sure, it was gas because that's what that little line feeding out there was for. So.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
Wow.
Don't light a match.
For me, it's changed a lot. Like I say, I used to run around out here in the, right 70, 71, 72 when I was in high school. And again, there weren't that many boats at all. There were, if I had to guess, I'd maybe say a dozen pontoon boats. Very, very few people had pontoon boats at that time. And a lot of people had fishing boats. But I mean, there just weren't that many boats out here. But again, there were a lot of young people that lived out here, and some of the parents still live out here. We mentioned the Peasies. Mrs. Peasy still lives in the house down on East Lake, and you mentioned Elam. He'd been out here forever, and he was my math teacher when I was in high school.
And there's Moto, the baseball coach.
Yep, he'd been out here for a long time. Bill Funkhauser, one of the coaches and teachers from high school, was out here for quite a few years. And there were some other ones I'm sure I'm not even thinking about right now. But again, it was just a great place to come out and hang out, and there was always something. I was out here almost every day looking for something to do and trying to find out where everybody was at, what was going on. And then you're from 91 on.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about the boats is when we moved out here, there really weren't that many pontoon boats, but now they're out of docks, I think.
Yeah.
And you kind of just live on the boat on the weekends. It's a lot of fun.
It's a good place to live.
Oh yeah, we have a blast.
Well, when we first moved out here, we didn't have a boat for the first year or two. We had a friend of ours who liked fishing, and they would come out here fairly often and fish with us. He made sure he found a boat for me.
Yeah.
And he helped helped me find a little motor for the little 5-horse motor for the back of it. It was just a little, V-bottom boat, and then it wasn't but a couple of years. Boats change hands all the time out here. We found somebody that was selling a boat, and we bought one. So once we had the pontoon boat, it was, it was great, because once you got the pontoon boat, you can really do a lot more. You can take, bigger groups out. You can still go fishing.
You tie up and visit with other people, and not that we ever drink or anything, but you just have, and even at night we take the dogs out for a ride, and they love going for a boat ride. Oh, don't say that out loud.
Yeah, and the boat that we bought, I don't know, 95 or so. Our neighbors bought that, and that boat's still on the lake out here with over at McDowell's, and we bought a little bit newer boat from somebody else on the lake, and that's what we've got. So
they do. They just kind of pass them around.
Starter boats, and then everybody buys a newer boat and steps up to an upgrade when they can afford it. But I think when you move on the lake, you got to get a boat as soon as you can.
Yeah. Well, we do have guests an awful lot. It's like, let's see, where can we go? Okay, they have a foosball table. They have a swimming pool. They have a lake. They have a boat. Cindy and Rick's. That sounds like a great place to, and it's fine because I love to entertain. I love to have company. Yes, so there are a lot of time. We're busy.
Yeah, and again, we like to have people over, and whenever we have anybody over, we like to take them out on the lake and take them around the lake and show them the lake. And some of them know the lake and have a history of it from their end. Other people have never seen it before. I know a lot of people that I talked to did not know that this lake was even here, because again, it's so close to downtown, but it's like, I didn't know there was a lake right inside of Edwardsville. Now it's kind of grown up around it over the years, but this lake has been, 3 or 4 blocks from Troy Road since it was built back in the late 30s or early 40s. So.
And I remember when we first moved here, and our friend Ed made sure that somebody had a boat so he could go fishing, and that he'd bring their son. And my best friend Cindy is married to Ed, so we'd go out on that little thing, and the guys would be like, "Oh, they're trying to catch jaws." They're using those great big lures. We put those practice weights on ours. Was that what you call them?
So they weren't practice; they were just weights.
Right. So that we could just act like we were throwing, and we didn't have to stop drinking to take a fish off the line or anything.
Yeah, they didn't have to worry about catching any fish. There was no hook on their line.
No, that would just slow down everything else. Yeah, but that was, oh my gosh, we've had so much fun on this lake for a long, long time. 1,000 years ago, a long time. McDowell's would have a party in their carport.
Just the whole, basically our whole street, and then their cul-de-sac would just be, and all the neighbors on the street would get together and invite people.
We just kind of gather in the street, Who's coming?
Yeah, usually the 4th of July weekend. Sometimes it would be the night of the fireworks out here.
Jack and Virginia would get a band, and we'd buy a boatload of fireworks, and that was always fun.
Yeah. And then something that's just been in recent years is having the fireworks down on the dam. I mean, that was... Yeah,
that wasn't always.
10 years maybe they've been doing it. I lose track of how long they've been doing it, but that's always a nice thing to be able to go out in the boat, and it gets... Even the people that don't take their boats out but once or twice a year, get them running and get them out there for the fireworks when they have those. So, and that's always a nice evening, a big party weekend.
Well, and now, okay, even before, good luck trying to buy a vacant lot. And people have moved, and we've made a lot of friends, but one couple that moved away, said the big question is your house a scraper? And that means after somebody buys it, do they just and scrape it down and build another one? And that's what they're doing now. I never thought I'd live somewhere where they would tear down houses to build another house.
Yeah, and there's been a fair amount of that
Yeah.
out here on the lake over the years, and there's not many lots that are still vacant. Probably one of the last vacant ones is right across on the point there, and it's owned by I think Paul Nieberg owns it now, or his family owns it now. It was his mom passed away, and so he's still in his family, and
That's not going anywhere.
no, I don't know that he wants to build out here, but he doesn't want to sell the lot. But again,
Apparently, it just has moved on through a couple
it's
of.
stayed in the family
Yeah.
forever, you know. And we used to, again, Paul was in my graduating class, and we used to swim out off of his dock that's still there on the point. So that was one of the swimming spots, for everybody growing up. So again, all kinds of families up and down the lake that I knew.
But it's just it
this-
seems like I used to travel a lot for work, and it didn't seem like it, but it did. It seemed like when you came home, there was another house somewhere, and like it had dropped out of the sky. And that's Edwardsville in general too. But
And that's how Edwardsville has changed a lot over the
Yeah.
years. I mean, it was, I grew up here, I was here since I was, I was born and we lived in Edwardsville from that time on. My mom was from Edwardsville. My dad grew up in Carpenter, but they lived in Edwardsville from the time I was born. And it was a small town atmosphere, and people that have moved away and come back, they kind of complain about it, saying, it's not like it used to be. I wish it was like it used to be. Well, in some ways, yeah, it was quaint, but because things have grown and it has expanded, you got a lot of things that you can enjoy that you didn't have back then. So
and you can live on the lake, and it's still quiet.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
Well, if you can find a house for sale.
we had, Jane Lauer. I've worked with Jane off and on over the years.
Craig and Jane.
They've been out here for a long time, and she told me once, and she's right. She said, living on a lake, it's like you wake up in the morning. It's almost like you're on vacation. You wake up and you go out on your deck, have a cup of coffee. The boat's there, the water's there, but then you have to go to work. So
Yeah, well, there goes that. And I remember, well, it's in certain ways, it's kind of stupid to have a swimming pool when you're that close to the lake. And
that's what I argued for years.
yeah, I know. And we had an old bedraggled patio down there. It was horrible, and it needed to be dug up since before we were here. And it was flagstone and everything else. We got to dig that stuff up anyhow. Why not just make the hole bigger? And now it's a swimming pool. But I never did like, because I'd get stuck in schools of fish. And I don't like fish. And because I had a couple of bite me. And one flopped up on my mat. And one day, Marguerite Pizzini she would always swim, and they owned Ballwigs, the Dudacheks. They'd be out in the lake too. And the one day a bird landed on my back, and it was like a baby bird. It was like flapping its little wings, and I couldn't reach it to get it off. So I paddled over to Marguerite, and she got the little baby bird off my back. That
Saved it, right?
It saved the little bird.
There.
Holy cow. 2006. The storms that wouldn't end. Oh my gosh, in the summertime, it was the thunderstorms. You weren't probably here yet. But, I mean, we didn't have electricity for days. And it snapped off trees. There were piles and it was very, very hot. Even in the lake, it was like swimming in a bathtub.
Well,
It was like 103 one day.
I guess two things. One, we had storms in the summer, and we were without power for about a week in the summer. Again, a lot of people in town there were just a few in this little group here, so we were low on the priority list. So we were without power in a week for the summer, and that's when Cindy was saying the no air conditioning. It was really hot. She was packing up to go to one of her conventions.
Business trip, yeah.
And then that winter, we had ice storms, and we were, power was out again for about another week in the winter. And that's when she's talking about the, all the branches that were down. They were piled up across the whole front of our property, about 6 foot high, 6 foot wide, just piled up all of the branches
All the yeah, and
were up there.
Marguerite's tree is still kind of bent, and when the branches would fall down off the trees, it shook the house and it sounded like gunshots. And of course, there's no activity. And what does the first thought a man would have is, I must drive around all over town and see what it looks like. And so he left me here,
Well,
and it was.
I mean, days later, but I mean, yeah, to see what was going on. But yeah, I mean, it, So, but anyway, we, hung out here and just kind of hunkered down and had a fire in the fireplace downstairs. And
Oh, I was so proud I got it up to 60 degrees one day. But on the bright side, if there was any, you could put like your frozen food outside, and we have a gas furnace, but it's got the electric motor, but it's okay. So we just put the refrigerator stuff in the bathtub up here, and it closed it up. What was it going to do? Go bad? And it was that bad.
yeah,
Have fun.
get
yourself a boat.
get a boat as soon as you can.
Yeah, even if it's a little one and you have to paddle, and you hang out in the middle, and you'll have company come to you.
Yeah, if you get out on the water, you'll meet a lot of people, and you get a chance to talk to people. And people out here are very friendly, and there's always, you get out on the water, you get out, walk in the lake, you'll meet a lot of people. So
And there's always extra beer too. You don't ever leave home without having enough in your cooler. And you bring a little extra too, because you run into people.
there you go.
I really hope. I'm disappointed that it took us this long to dredge the lake. I know it costs money. Yes, but I don't want to leave something that isn't as nice as what I had. I think that's ethically wrong. So I'm glad we're at least doing some of the stuff. And there was some interim dredging, but now we're doing the real stuff that needs really.
We're spending more money and doing it right. And when they get done with everything, my expectation is that it will be as nice as it was back in, when I was a kid out here. So it should be left in as good a shape or better shape than when we moved out here, and then when I was out here as a kid. So
I can't. Yeah, I get it. Nobody wants to spend more money. But like when there was all the seaweed and algae growing, there's something wrong with this picture. This isn't just bad luck. And so I'm relieved. It has filled up with silt even since I've been here. And you could tell, even walking around on the side like I do sometimes, it's not as deep.
yeah, and I think that's the thing. A lot of it, you couldn't see the problem, and maybe that was deceptive to a lot of people that didn't realize how bad it was if they didn't get to the areas that were shallower. But if you got down there and were out in the water and knew that you could just, down at the south end, that you could just walk across the lake, that it wasn't more than about 4.5 feet deep, you realize that there were problems. So while it maybe looked like it was still in good shape, and all the people take care of their houses, and yeah, nearly everybody out here takes care of their shoreline, their docks, boats and yards and landscaping, everything looks good. It was just the infrastructure that was something that we hadn't been kept up with. So, but we're doing that. Last year we put the new spillway in.
Oh, what a relief!
Which brings that up to state compliance, and they realize that we can't do exactly what the state. So they worked with us on that, and we're starting this year, and it's a multi-year plan to dredge the lake, starting down at the south end and some of the other coves they're going to get. So So in several years, it should be back to as good a shape as it was when we moved out here. And, you know,
They better hurry. I want it back faster than that. And I would actually like it filled back up right now, please. So
So
I miss having the lake. And like Rick was saying, we have people over, we go out. We always had the family Easter. And this year, we always take a boat ride. And there was that one year the sissies wouldn't go because it was snowing. Okay, big deal. If you love the lake, you go out on a boat. But this year we did not get to go on the boat. We'd even have it been brought back early on purpose just to have the Easter boat ride.
So, but they're making headway, and hopefully they'll be done with this phase soon, and we'll get the water back up and get the boats back and get to enjoy the summer.
I hope so.
Yep,
I hope so.
yep. I think a lot of people do. So
Boy, do we have cute fox kits all over the place. Every year, every couple of years they rehome some of them to actual woods. But they're the cutest little thing, and some of them live, here in the area. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say you can see some, several times a day. The drainage swale. There's a culvert there that last summer there were two families that were in there. This year we've seen one, and then over on the corner there's a culvert that ties into it that they can connect, and they can either pop up over here at the corner of West Lake and Oak Ridge, or out of that culvert there. But you see them out playing, and that's always kind of cute.
It is. And I know some people don't like seeing when they don't quite finish their dinner because you'll have bits of other animals.
Squirrel or rabbit
Right.
or something.
And
like that,
I don't who doesn't, but at least they do keep down, they eat mice too, and so that's part of nature's game plan.
Yep.
The beavers, it's for the longest time beaver muskrat, but beavers are really bigger. And there was a lady that lived down there when we hadn't lived here too very long, and she even put chicken wire around her trees so the beaver wouldn't gnaw on them.
Yeah, young trees, you got to protect them so that they don't, chop them down. And then the eagles and the hawks and the swans, the geese, the ducks, all the wildlife. So there is a lot out here.
You know what though? That with the eagles, and we had pelicans one year, and we never used to have birds like this. And we went through a stage with egrets where we had a boatload, and now eagles. We would maybe see an eagle, but not like 5 or 6 or 8 of them. And I think some of that because Alton is so close, but the weather patterns are changing. It's warmer now, and boy, did we get some swans. Oh, I got some pictures somewhere, but they're so big. When you first see a swan, I think, what is a pillow doing floating around out on the lake? And they're that big. And one year there were at least 100 of them out there. And they made a lot of noise, so we're glad we lived a little inland. But they all came, and that was that. They didn't show up in that quantity ever again.